Because there's still people out there criticizing a woman just for being a woman, talking about football.
Let's get a clap.
It is more difficult to be a woman in football. I think what we're kind of seeing now is obviously globally, you see that the women's game is catching up slowly but surely, growing. There's so many young girls playing football. Football is for everybody. It's not something that the boys play at school or the playground, whatever. Everybody actually plays this.
Do you experience any negativity about being a woman working in football?
Sometimes you can feel like you're taken a bit less seriously. That's actually been one of the things that since coming to Brentford I've been really pleasantly surprised with. It's small things like people just asking for your opinion on the game and things like that, and sort of taking you seriously as an individual who works in football, not a woman specifically, which is really nice. You get people that sort of are like, oh, you're working with a men's Premier League first team, oh, I bet you enjoy that job, that kind of comment and stuff, and that's obviously not why we're here, and it's also something that I don't think you'd ever say that to a guy working in football, so it's just the kind of equal treatments sometimes still a wee bit missing.
So do you see that as more of the kind of general view of the people standing outside, kind of judging, having kind of ideas of how it must be to be in this environment, and then the environment obviously maybe not fitting those descriptions and being a little bit more inclusive? Obviously, I think being part of football for a long time is a lot different from when I started. So I can see that it now is quite of a better place to be in, and more diverse and opening. So I could kind of see that. But what, in your opinion, can clubs or men in general, but clubs like Brentford or other clubs do to kind of support or help or make the environment better for women at the workplace?
So I think for me, I've been really touched by how flexible Brentford have been with my pregnancy, and I think just how I never thought I'd get that reaction, but they've been so supportive, they've been understanding. I've been quite sick with it, and they've really helped me through, and I don't think a younger me would have ever thought a Premier League football club, would be like that. Unfortunately, before I got to this point, I've had miscarriages, and I had Thomas Frank come up to me and give me a big hug and say, we're a family, we're there for you. And I just don't think I'd ever think a Premier League manager would ever say that to someone. So I just think the fact that it's becoming more inclusive, there's more understanding for, the human side of it, rather than just, it's a game, we're robots, this is how we do it. I think clubs are definitely becoming more inclusive and family friendly, and that's a massive step.
I had a very interesting conversation with my wife a few weeks ago regarding female commentators and also female working in the panel experts. That gets a lot of criticism. You see it on social media, you see it on Twitter. And she actually made a point that is what she's saying worse than what a man is saying? If you made the voice neutral, would you be able to spot the difference of a woman saying something or a man saying something? And I think that point was spot on, because there's still people out there criticizing a woman just for being a woman, talking about football.
I would say on an individual level, I've been quite lucky, I think, in my time in football, that I've not really experienced too many barriers or too many difficult conversations with colleagues, etc. But I have heard anecdotally quite a few of those from other women that work in the game, and the plea would be just for people to check themselves and have regular self-reflection and check-in for all people working in football, that they're creating inclusive environments, that they're having conversations and engaging on a level of equals rather than kind of any preconception, and yeah, just being mindful of the environment that you create and making sure that it's welcoming.
I think in terms of having that allyship from men, as we spoke about, is really important. So if we're still in a culture where things are said, or the banter can be a bit on the borderline, But like if you hear something and you think that might be a little bit uncomfortable for a woman, but actually just being like calling it out and being a bit of an active bystander and saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't have said that, or did you consider how that might make that person feel, I think would be really good. And if we can do that, then we can just be a little bit more considerate into making a nicer environment for us all to work in.
If we talk about these challenges, these things you've encountered in football and working in the environment, what kind of advice would you give your younger self or younger girls that want to work in this environment in football in the future?
I'd say like 100% be yourself. And it's such an exciting time to be getting into football, because like even things like this today, like it's like first team players that are happy to come out and just show support for women working in football. And there's so many like resources, there's so many like women in football able to sort of to help you out. You know, it's such a good time to be getting involved. So yeah, be yourself and go for it.
Yeah, I think if it was my younger self, I would tell her to just go for it, and maybe I would have got into this earlier. I think if I knew that this was for me, then I would have told myself to get into it earlier and realise that there is a space for you, there's space for people who look like you. You know, go for it. Your skills are needed, your talent is needed. So yeah, we need more women in football. We need everyone in football. So yeah.
For my younger self, I'd probably say just call stuff out, because that's the only way stuff is going to change. And actually, you'll be surprised when you do call stuff out that others will back you up and agree with you. And actually, a lot more people feel it's wrong than agree with the person that's probably abusing you. But having said that, I would also say, like, it's going to get better. It's going to get a lot better. Like, now it's just so much more welcoming than I feel like it used to be. And that's only going to get better, as you say, with the new generation. I think this new generation is like completely different to any we've seen before, and it's going to get better.
I think mine would be, similar to Nikita's, there's a place for you. And I think having that conversation with the younger me would be very, very difficult. Kicking and screaming, no, I don't want to work in football. But yeah, there's a place for you 100%. And I'm now doing my dream job, and I can say that with kind of utmost confidence and completely surprisingly. But I think the other thing that I'd love to land is around male allyship, that there are kind of male allies in the game that are really supportive. And it's actually one of the reasons that I kind of came to Brentford, and Brentford was the environment. I think the conversation around your dream job will be in football would be a hard one to land. But yeah, super happy now.